Now, please be warned that there will be spoilers for Season 1 of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, if you have been following my channel for a while now, or just watched a few videos, you know that I'm a pretty much DC-oriented guy, but I enjoy some Marvel stuff here and there. Mostly not necessarily referring to the MCU stuff, because to me they are just corporate products, and I don't really find a lot of enjoyment from an artistic perspective. But I always give credit where credit is due, and I've been tuning into the Falcon and the Winter Soldier as of late, and now that I have finished episode 4, I'm really interested to see where the series will go, and I would like to see more of this in the future from Marvel, not just in the kind of mini-series or show format, but also from the movies themselves as well. And first of all, the show seemed pretty interesting at some points for me, especially in episode 1, as we see how Bucky deals with his traumatic past. But it was kind of lackluster at other parts, like some of the action scenes. I mean, referring to that van action scene, which was pretty iffy and kind of lame, and I felt like that the action sequences were the weakest part of the whole show, because the narrative part was much more interesting and the characters were much more intriguing to me. And of course, the quote-unquote villain of the story was kind of non-existent when we really think about it for a second. But if that was intentional, and it seems to be that it was intentional, then hats off to them, because it seems to be really interesting, or it seemed to be moving to a really interesting point. But as I mentioned before, this fourth episode has really turned things around for me, and it made the show in my eyes a lot more mature and interesting. And I felt like that this show, and especially the episode, was very much in the vein of Batman v Superman and even the Star Wars prequels when you really think about it, in the sense that the end doesn't necessarily justify the means. And what really stuck out to me most is that we see more of Sam's character in general, as I think he was one of the most boring and blank characters. And when I saw him in like Captain America the Winter Soldier, he didn't really have a personality. He was just a military guy, if you will. And like even in the other Avengers movies, he didn't really stuck out to me as this character with a really interesting background or something like that. But in this show, we get to see more of his character and how he fits into the story of this whole new Captain America. And especially in this fourth episode, we really see how he will be worthy, or why he will become the new Captain America, possibly at the end of this season or during the following season. I'm not really sure how they will conclude it, but I feel like that we have given enough reasons, especially in this episode, that could convince us as why he would be the perfect candidate really for carrying on the Captain America legacy. Of course, as I mentioned before, it isn't really as profound as something like BVS was with There Must Be a Superman question, but this one still makes a person think in ways, especially the fourth episode, and which to me was a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one from Marvel, and I would love to see more of this later on the line. But like one of the more interesting questions that this episode kind of just throws at you, which was again really surprising to me because I didn't necessarily expect the show to go this way. When do freedom fighters become oppressors themselves? And this is kind of this perpetual question that we always ask ourselves when you look at the history books, or what happened with great military or just leaders in general, that they become oppressors themselves, which is very much in the vein of the Star Wars prequels when you really think about it. And of course, this kind of reflects the current political climate without even trying to be preachy or very political in a sense, because it is a very general thing when you really think about the whole story of it. It comes off as natural and doesn't come off as preachy. It isn't on the nose when you really think about it, because it fits with the character and the story. And of course, one of the bigger kind of messages of this whole episode and the series looks to be is that the power that you wield doesn't actually matter as much the person wielding it. And that has been kind of the back and forth between, I think, Lamar and John Volker's character, the new Captain America. And especially when they really think about like Steve Rogers' character, when they talk about him, is that the super serum kind of makes you into this, or can make you into this terrorist because you have all the power in the world. But what if you don't have the personality to control it? What if you don't use all that power power for good, right? You become kind of an oppressor yourself, and this is what we saw from the kind of villains or the terrorist organization. And like, yeah, one of the bigger questions that kind of popped into my mind while watching this is, must there be a Captain America during all this? Because when you really think about it, and what the show actually does, which I'm kind of realized right now while talking about this or just contemplating this, is the fact that they are re-establishing what Captain America actually means. Because I think Marvel has kind of realized that what their initial Captain America, what Steve Rogers was during his tenure within the movies, is not as relevant now as it was back when the first Avenger came out, of course, Captain America's first movie. And this is what the kind of terrorist organization talks about, is that it's kind of that Captain America's shield is a symbol of a bygone era. And to me, that was kind of interesting in a sense that, yes, when you really think about it, like, that shield doesn't necessarily hold up from today's standards when we place it in the context of Steve Rogers. But now we have a new Captain America, who is not necessarily the ideal Captain America, to say the least now. And we can see that the heroes, and mainly referring to Sam and Bucky here, that how they learn from the mistakes of John Walker as Captain America and how they can be better heroes and follow in the footsteps of Steve Rogers, while at the same time being true to the ideals of Captain America, while also adjusting to the world that we live in now in 2021. It will be interesting to see the trajectory, not just the story, but the characters themselves, how they will end up, or how that character will kind of be fulfilled in the next following 2 episodes, which is kind of sad that there will be only 2 episodes, because I thought there will be 4 left, but the show is only a 6-episode series, which is not a bad thing if they can wrap up the story properly, but I would have just loved to see a bit more. But I'm really looking forward to more like this from Marvel, as I mentioned before countless times, I think. And given the fact that maybe, just maybe, people nowadays are more ready for this kind of narrative storytelling than they were back when BBS came out. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you have enjoyed this kind of different take that I usually don't necessarily do, but it was fun nevertheless. Please let me know all of your thoughts regarding the show and my thoughts in the comments down below. And if you have enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this one. I'll see you in the next one. And until then, remember to keep it insightful.